In this video, we'll be covering CSV imports and how you can automatically enrich them with not just more data, but also up-to-date data, meaning a potentially old and obsolete list of contacts can once again become relevant. The CSV import process includes any Excel, Google Sheet, or any contact list that can be exported into a CSV format. And just to clarify, CSV stands for comma separated value, and it's pretty much any dataset that can be divided into fields. Take this CSV file, for example, where it's divided into the various field types, be it first name, last name, role, company, and so on. And then each row is the different, contacts within it. Now let's get started. To import a CSV file, first head over to the sourcing tab on the sidebar. You can expand it and find all the various sourcing methods at your disposal, but in this case, we're interested in the CSV import type. Once selected, you can pick the CSV file you want to import, or you can also directly drag and drop it into the slot. And just like that, you'll have this CSV import interface. On the left panel are those same CSV file fields and values that we've seen earlier. And on the right are all the slots that I can insert them into. Now, Jobin does automatically remember how I last compiled my CSV file, so the actual first name has already been compiled here, but I'll go ahead and reset that so we have a clean slate. But pretty much, if I want to add a field, all it takes is to select the field from the left panel and then insert it into the slot you want to add it into. And to utilize Jobin's special auto-updating functionality, all we actually need is the LinkedIn URL, without having to bother with all the other data that is potentially even obsolete, simply by adding the LinkedIn URL to the Smart Link Parser. This is a special type field that is going to automatically parse and clean up the URL. This is useful because LinkedIn URLs tend to often have multiple variations that all lead to the same type of profile. And Jobin has a built-in deduplication system, and that deduplication system relies also on the LinkedIn URL. So it's important to have a universalized and cleaned up URL when importing CSV files, so that you have the most seamless and clean type of deduplication experience when keeping your database duplicate free. Pretty much with this LinkedIn URL, we already have everything we actually need. I can also add additional fields if I want to, but in this case, it's not really necessary. However, a field that I do recommend adding is to insert some segmentation information. My CSV file also contains a dedicated tags section, so I already have tags and stages that I can use to segment the contacts I'm importing, but in most cases you're likely not going to have this. And you're going to want to have an easy way to be able to find everyone that you're importing once they're added into your repository, because your repository likely has lots of other contacts as well. Now, this import section on the right, which are all the fields that you can import into on Jobin, has multiple pages. This is only the main fields section for the most commonly used ones. Over on page 5, we can find a more custom setting type variation section, where we can add both our annotations but also tags. And if I wanted to manually add a tag, I can directly click on the field on the right panel without selecting anything from my CSV file, and this allows me to directly add basically a manual input, a manual value that is going to be inserted and given to every contact within the CSV file. And these are a couple of the default tags that Jobin has, but you can also custom create one. So I'm just going to custom write CSV import, and just like that, every contact that is being imported from this specific CSV file will have the CSV import tag. This is an array type field, meaning I can actually add multiple inputs into it. So if I want, I can have both the tags that my CSV file was using and add it into the tag section, but also a manual input. So I can potentially have however many I want. But in this case, I only care about my manual input. So I'll remove the tags field from my CSV file. Once I've assigned all the fields that I'm interested in importing, all I need to do is press the Start Import button. From this interface, you then have a general overview of where are these CSV file fields being associated into. The first name is being added to the first name slot, the LinkedIn URL slot for my CSV is being added to the Smart Link Parser, and then I have a manual input for the tags. I can also assign some preferential treatment on how I want the data to be deduplicated. For a quick overview, by default, it's going to automatically overwrite the CSV data if newer information is imported. But if you're actively polishing the data in your CSV file and you want to actually safeguard that information that you're adding, then in that case, you can pick the Ask for Manual Confirmation before overwriting. So like this, you always have the actual choice to pick if you would rather have the newer info or keep your older info if there's ever a conflicting value. Because in some cases, like for example, the name of the contact, there's only one name. There can't be multiple names for the same person. So it's either one or the other. And that's the scenarios where Jobin will manually ask you to confirm. And then keep original data and ignore new data is self-explanatory in the sense that if there is already an original instance of the same contact in my Jobin repository, then Jobin is going to automatically prioritize the original and older information that was in the repository as opposed to overwriting it. But yeah, just like that, I can begin my import. This import performs 2000 fields per minute. So if you have a very large database, it's going to complete in just a few minutes. In my case, it's just 3, so it was pretty much instantaneous. But just like that, we now have these 3 contacts that don't really have any information because all I added was their name, the LinkedIn URL, and the tag that we added here. And I can filter for the tag from my filters here on the left. So if you already have a large database with lots of contacts, make sure to first filter for the CSV import tag or whichever tag you're using so that you nicely only see the contacts that you've just imported. But from there, we now want to, well, of course, enrich them with more information. I don't want to just be limited by the few inputs that I had from the CSV file itself. And that can all be done thanks to the LinkedIn URL that we added during the import. Once I select these contacts, either by drag and dropping over them or by pressing the All button, which will automatically select every result in that search, I can find on the action bar at the bottom of the screen a More Bulk Actions button. If I click that, here I can find a Auto Update option, and this is going to automatically update them with their latest LinkedIn data. I can then see how that's progressing from my operations monitor here at the top right, where I can see the contact auto update operation that has already been added to the queue. This is now going to automatically start running in the background. I can also press run queue if I just want to jolt it into action. And there I have it. It already imported Gabriel's profile. And the imported data is now, well, their entire LinkedIn profile, where I can read summary, professional experiences, years of experience, education, skills, accomplishments, publications in this case as well, and well, pretty much anything they mentioned. So I've effectively very nicely enriched my data, and this can be done in bulk, even for potentially old and obsolete CSV databases. You can press this refresh button at the top to refresh the results, and just like that, automatically all the results have been updated since that operation was automatically running and completing in the background for me.